Alright, welcome back. Today we are working on Game Changers V2. As you see, I've got it wired up right now. I finished some soldering. So what I'm doing now is I was making sure that it's going the right direction, because what I'm going to be doing is heat shrinking the two connectors together. So I've got the bullets replaced and soldered, and just want to make sure that they're all the way plugged in, because I wanted to make sure that direction is right before I go ahead and heat shrink this. And because they're two halves, once you heat shrink the whole thing, you should never have to touch it until you take it apart. But when you go to take it apart, you just take your blade and you cut right at the connector, and you'll have two halves. I just like to seal up the whole thing so that there's no chance that they'll touch each other. One thing with the heat shrink I use is it does run a little big, which is okay. Just don't heat it up too much. You really got to get all the way around the heat shrink, letting it cool in between. And constantly move the heat around. There we go. Then, once it cools down a minute, we're going to lower all this stuff down. And get this stuff zip tied. So, what I like to do, you can't zip tie the whole stack together. You want to keep the wires separated. So you put one around the whole thing. This is just an old trick I learned when doing spark plug wires. When you don't have spark plug wire holders handy, we normally have zip ties handy, which will make it real clean, because spark can jump between cylinders. So what I do is always loosely, we'll go ahead and set this up, and I like them to go the same way, so I just have to make sure I put it the same way. But I will set it up loosely like this. Get it in the position I want it. And tighten down the centers. Take our zip tie cutters, which is my body cutters. Going to give it a snip, and then I'm going to take the ends and I'm going to flip them in between the wires. Now the wires off the motor are really hard. Making sure that we don't touch our suspension anywhere. And that's it. Now the wires are cleanly and they're protected. And the wires here are just so stiff that we don't run the risk of them moving when he has the body on. Oh, remote is saying. Now, I do have the gyro hooked up to this thing, so that's all working because we have it connected to the factory remote. Now what we're going to do, and these Felony tires, they do hit. They hit the front splitter, and then they do rub the body a little bit. I've only got 6S in it right now because I'm testing. So let's test out these fans. That's a lot of air, guys. Compared to that fan that's on, you see? Game changer. Get your fans. Now that's a commercial. Let me see if I can get it right. That'll be a good shot. Game changer. Get you some of that. You guys know who that is, right? Get you some of that. Mr. Richard Rawlings himself. Now on the antenna, I did have an antenna plug on this because it was missing. I wonder what I did with it. But I heat it and then I angle it back. Just so we get the long antenna. And it doesn't hit the roof or the cab. The plan was to put a fan up here, one of Game Changer's. We're still working on it. His low profile fan hits the bed, and the tall one hits the bed with the XLX. So I'm going to get a hold of Game Changer and figure out what he wants to do with that. If he wants to do my idea where I cut the hole in the bed and then blow the fan directly on top of the ESC with a low profile fan, or maybe go a different route. But I think with all the air we have blowing on it, it might be enough, but we'll see. Like I said, this is 1-to-1. And 1-to-1 is definitely some tall gearing. As you can see the cogging, watch. . So that's the cogging. Let's see, brake rate's all the way up. So everything on it is working. A little bit of changes I need to make. I need to get, I think I want to get the rear diff cover put back on this. So I might have to cut more of that battery tray to get that rear diff cup, just so no rocks get in this 8mm shaft right here. We have play in these shafts. So we'll see about that, and then yeah. So we are going to get that working. Now this doesn't have an on and off switch. Unplugging the battery is how you power it down. So I do need to get into the ESC, so I'll be pulling this cover to do some tuning and go that route. But overall, the RC is coming out really, really good. We're just going to make some changes. So I'm going to get my laptop charged up, and we're going to plug in. We're going to make some changes to the ESC. We're going to get it unlocked. I keep saying unlocked, but it's just putting in an old firmware. It's firmware 178, I believe. We're going to get that installed into it so that we can increase it to the 350, 400 amps that these can put out. Now, when you do that, you can burn up an XLX. So you just got to be careful with it. You got to watch temperatures, and don't do back-to-back runs. So there we go.